one by one. Let's begin by discussing the main event of the evening. Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul, which saw Roman Reigns once again defend his WWE undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. Let's start with Clark. What did you think about this match?
Hey, thank you for tossing it to me, my friend Ben. You know my opinions, I think, on Logan Paul, but I gotta admit I was impressed. He looked good, and it was a fun and entertaining match, without question. I loved the interference out of Jake Paul. I did find it interesting that they gave him his own entrance, but hey, it's a Saudi show, and so there was that. Production value wise, not much more you can ask for. Anybody else got any insight, by the way, though, while we're hot? Because this was one that wasn't my favorite.
How about you, Coby? What did you think of it?
So I'll say this, and I'll start off this as hot as I physically can. That was match of the night for me.
Woof.
Are you going to talk, Saul? Are you going to talk?
Give me the
Oh, that's all I need to say. That was
give me the floor.
okay.
Come on, this was just a
Go,
showcase.
go.
No, look, this was just a showcase match, all right? This was just to make some people happy, big thing, draw the crowds, draw the whole internet, Twitter, Facebook, if you're old, Bebo, MySpace, that kind of crowd, get everyone on the crowd, knows what's going on there. It's to bring eyes to the product. I mean, was it match of the night? No, I think another match on the card was the match of the night by far. But this was just simply a showcase match. This is something you'll see on 2K22. That will be some random match in Roman Reigns' legacy that's going to be like, you could skip this for one reward, which will be the arena, pretty much.
Yes, sir.
What would you say then, Saul, was the match of the evening?
Oh, easy. 1 second, let me clean my palate. Almost in Braun.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding.
No. No, I was gonna say.
It was easily Bianca and Bailey.
Then.
Hands down. Easy.
I got
go on, Clark. What was your match of the night?
I thought it was by far Bailey and Bianca. I thought they stole the show. I thought I've always kind of believed that it's always been really hard to come up with a solid finish for a last person standing match. And for this one in particular, I thought the finish was excellent. I harken back to the way Umaga and Cena did their last man standing match. This one, like that, with it being so hard to finish, it brought the excitement, it brought the physicality, it brought all that you could ask for. I thought that it stole the show by miles.
I think that's a point, to be fair, a lot of people can agree on that. That absolutely did deliver. Anthony Ricciardi, what were your thoughts on the main event when Roman Reigns defeated Logan Paul?
I mean, I think that was a match that going in, we all pretty much knew Logan had no shot of taking the title off of Roman. So we knew it was going to be a showcase match, like Saul said. But, Logan's athletic. But, it was what it was. It definitely wasn't my match of the night. I agree with everybody else. It was Bianca and Bailey was the match of the night for me.
Now, another match on the card, which had a bit, created some controversy online already, is Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Now, we're going to start with Saul. What did you think of this encounter?
Worst match on the card, honestly. It was the worst match on the card. Just fast-paced action, and then they tried to do a knee injury spot, and then it ends flatly with the fall off the top rope and pins Lashley when his shoulders didn't even look on the mat, and then there's a wee post-brawl shit. Look, it's not for me. I was not really a fan of it. I know they're going to keep this going on a bit longer, but being hyped, and a lot of people have always wanted to see Lashley and Lesnar fight. I know they did it at the Rumble, but that was, again, a common theme, messy finish, spoiling a good match between two good physical athletes, and now just going to keep it going on. Is this just the trend we're going to see with Lesnar and Lashley? Matches that could be great. The good old phrase of the internet, big men slapping meat. Do not Google that. You'll be in for trouble. But, I mean, worst match in the card, in my opinion.
Clark Taylor, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm going to have to, so you and I agree a lot more often than we disagree. But this one, I'm going to have to say, I'm on the other side. I thought, look, you have two of the world's actually biggest ass kickers, right? You have two legitimate heavyweight MMA contenders, one former champion, two with legitimate freestyle wrestling resumes, and it couldn't be anything but physical, and it had to be a sprint because guys like that, we all know that's what it would look like is if they locked up for real, it'd be quick, it'd be swift, either direction. And I thought the pace was pretty impressive to keep for two guys over 250 pounds, well over. I thought that's something that, you know, you have to take note of. That athletically is just almost impossible to do. And even though it approached 10 minutes, which I thought was longer than I expected, with all the, and I guess my biggest complaint would only be the one. Of course, Lashley did the spear spot through the railing, and I think that's kind of been overblown. But that isn't my biggest takeaway. I thought it was hard hitting enough, and then the callback to the multiple Bret Hart finishes. We talked about this off air with Anthony. The WrestleMania 8 finish against Roddy Piper, as well as the Survivor Series 96 finish against Stone Cold. It's a classic Bret Hart finish. Now, did he turn it over? Not the same way, but with the neck size and the head size, I thought the finish actually made a little bit more sense than I think maybe the that you took away from it. I thought it did make sense. A 270-pound man laying on top of you, even if he doesn't turn over, to do it the same way Bret did. I still saw the parallels, and he's still a 270-pound man laying on top of another one. It's hard to get your shoulders up.
Coby Galenzoski.
So I didn't anticipate having a point that from what Clark just mentioned, and it was with the car crash mentality. Is he saying if this happened in real, that's how it would go? But I want to kind of combat this, and we've seen better Brock Lesnar car crashes. Goldberg, WrestleMania 33. That was probably one of the better matches that we've seen from Brock of the last while. Brock and Seth went a little longer at the SummerSlam, but at the end of the day, the Brock stuff has gone a lot differently for most of the other matches in terms of they were more squash matches. I do think I do agree with Sol again with the common theme of they both had messy finishes. But the thing I'm interested in is, are they going the direction of, is Lashley going to be heel more? Or are they keeping him as the face? Because I know the crowd are more pro Brock Lesnar, and I'm not going to say anything much else about that. They were pro Brock Lesnar, causing Lashley to get the booing when he was in control, when he had the Hurt Lock in after the match. He was booed. I want to know if that's the general direction, or if we're going to still get kind of like good guy Lashley, or if they're going to use this kind of crowd reaction to maybe redirect where they were going to go with this situation. I don't know if this is a match for War Games, or I guess Survivor Series War Games, or I don't know where they happen at, where this could happen next, but it is clear they're not over.
Sol.
Yeah, fair points all around, fair points all around. But I want to talk another match, which I thought was odd and weird direction. Damage Control versus Alexa and Asuka. I mean, you took the belts off them for 5 days just for them to lose again in Saudi. I mean, it just seems like it was done to make the Saudi matches feel a bit more anything can happen. There could be a title change. I mean, I like that Nikki was involved and Nikki's doing something good, but was it for me again? But I mean, hey, it's just a Saudi show, these things really are spectacles for
Yes,
people.
certainly. That was already online. It's create a huge outroar about they're now hot potatoing the women's tag team championships. Anthony Ricciardi, what were your thoughts on the title switching hands once again?
The women's titles. I mean, I think it was basically done mostly to have a title change for that crowd. Like, I don't really know what the logic was to have the titles change on Monday just to switch them right back. I mean, maybe it was the Nikki Cross element to it, but I kind of got the feeling when I was watching it that it was, done for that audience and for that show.
Coby Galenzoski.
So I'll play the devil's advocate in this position, and I saw a lot of like, why did they do this? And if you saw the post on Instagram, you saw me saying, why are people saying all this, like, oh, damage control's not working, holding Bailey down, something's missing, it's been a flop. And then when WWE changes it or does something against or does what they want, they go around and say, well, no, we didn't want this, whatever. At the end of the day, I think it was the fact that it fits the aspect of the War Games, because it puts us in more of a clear direction of it's going to be Damage Control and Nikki Cross versus Bliss, Asuka, Bianca, and I assume Candice LeRae or one other woman. Sorry. I don't know. I'm not mad about the whole title change. If that is the reason why they did it, I get it, because business comes first in a lot of times. But I'm not mad about it myself. I'm fine with it.
I would only ask Coby too, because we're buddies or whatever on the Ramble, and we talk a lot. I guess the issue I have is, we never really had established why Damage Control paired up, right? We were giving them at SummerSlam. It's been a long time since SummerSlam, and we get it. They're friends, but why? And then apparently Bliss and Asuka and Bianca are friends, but why? And my issue would be with the whole scenario is, so you gave it to a non-team, the belts, you put the belts on a non-team in a win 5 days ago. As we saw, right, they had separate entrances even tonight. And then you give it back to Damage Control, but still, why has Damage Control banded together? Because in my eyes, both Io Sky and Dakota Kai would be threats to Bailey. And that's where their friendship, I would say, that's where I get lost on that one. As much as I love Bailey, for that matter, as performers, but I think Bailey's incredible. I just cannot figure out why the three of them. Why?
Anthony Ricciardi.
Yeah, I agree with Clark. There really was no explanation why Damage Control got together. I mean, I get the Asuka, Bliss, and Bianca because they have a mutual threat in Damage Control. But other than that, there really is no explanation of why Damage Control's together or what their purpose is.
Coby Galenzoski.
Yeah, so I guess this is more of a question, and this is to everyone in this call who want to answer this. Not this call, this in the StreamYard at this point. You get what I'm trying to say. But do you think, like, I don't want to say, is that a missing component of the story, or like who would you put the blame on, or the reasoning behind that? Would you say that's a missing plot? Or is that a plot hole because of someone like Triple H or something else? Or why do you think this is existing?
So,
I mean, I've always imagined it from my point of view that while Bailey was on the shelf, she was just seeing who she could get to join her as a team. And we know Bailey's had, like, from the storyline perspective, has done everyone dirty on the female side of the roster, just like screwing them over and being annoying to them and being the true, heel she is. But that's what I always just felt like. She saw Io and just thought that's a great person that I could use on a team. Dakota, the storyline, she was gone from the company. She brought her in as just her force to tackle the women's division. I mean, I don't think it's a necessary component. Unless it was like, if they were fighting all amongst each other, then yeah, I would like a point to know why they actually formed and teamed together. But the fact that they're all working together towards a goal of tackling these three women, which I feel like they should move on to someone else at some point, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Anthony Ricciardi.
Yeah, for me, like I think it's an element that needs to make sense. Like it falls on creative. It's a plot point. It does. Is it ground? Does it cause a major problem? No, but it's a piece of the story that should be included to explain why these people got together in the first place. So ultimately, I think it falls on creative to fill that plot hole.
Clark Taylor.
To his point too, it's not just to me about explaining that, but look, they already got what 2/3 of the way to their presumed goal, which would be to hold all the titles, right? As a trio, they won the tag belts already, then they gave them up, then they won them again. So like we can call them 2-time champs now. That's awesome. And then you have Bayley who has her opportunity in the main event. And then the role's completely different because of the way that they've kind of been split. And that's the issue I think I have twofold on if there was a clear direction that wasn't necessarily just, oh, they just are going to be three that team together and they want to dominate the women's division. But why is Io Sky and Dakota Kai okay with taking a backseat to Bayley in the women's title picture? Why would those two women be okay with that? That's the part where I think the disconnect for me too is even further, because my assumption was those would both be world title chasers the minute they stepped on the main roster. And obviously it didn't work out that way. But why now are they okay taking a backseat to? Why do they listen to Bayley? Why is it what Bayley says goes? Why is that the deal? That is something I would love to see played out over the next few weeks. And if they do, I'll be the first to tell you I'm wrong. And they nailed it. But I don't see any direction as far as why are we've now just categorized Io Sky and Dakota Kai, two legitimate world title contenders, as a tag team beneath Bayley with zero explanation. That's frustrating to me.
Way I see it, storyline perspective, look at their accolades. Bayley has done exceptional stuff in her career. Multi-time women's champion, held the tag titles and the women's championship at the same time during the pandemic era. Io Sky and Dakota have not done as much. You know, Io got the NXT women's championship run. Dakota, I'm not too familiar with, so I don't know what her accolades are. But I see them as two people that know they can get to the next step. So they're going to stay with Bayley, someone who's done great stuff in the women's division of WWE, sort of ride her coattails to elevate themselves. And maybe when they get into a position that maybe Bayley has the women's championship, they can maybe do a surprise attack on her and, you know, betray each other, break up Damage Control to try and get that one simple belt, being agreed as the main inception of their breakup. And I want to point out something here as well. We've got Survivor Series up, which is going to be a War Games match. Now, I want to propose a fantasy booking situation where we see a War Games match with Alexa Bliss and Asuka and two unknowns versus Damage Control and Nikki Cross. We get to Survivor Series in the War Game, and then we get announced that the two competitors who make their entrances are Naomi and Sasha Banks, because we've had, at the beginning of this Saudi show, we had a new, well, basically an old intro, the Then Now Forever segment, which included Naomi and Sasha in it. Could this possibly mean that they're coming back? Could this possibly mean a possible plan in the future? I don't know. Speculation, but we're in the Triple H era, so anything is possible in my mindset.
Coby Galenzoski.
So just to answer you, so Dakota Kai had not won the NXT tag titles or the women's title in NXT. She had two fairly short reigns with the tag titles. Io Sky was tag champ with Zoe Stark as well. And as much as I do agree with that, it's obvious that that's the reason is Bayley's a top star and they want to attach themselves. But this is where I'm still in the middle. As much as that's the reasoning behind it, and this is where I agree with Clark, they have yet to tell that story. And there's still always existing those plot holes, if you want to describe it that way.
I want to now quickly go back to the main event between Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. Now, there's a couple of talking points coming out of this, but the one which I want to focus on really quick right now is what did you think specifically of Logan Paul during this match? Anthony Ricciardi.
I mean, Logan's athletic. I mean, we saw it from the first match he was in. So considering it was only his third match, it was impressive what he did. But it was not something that, do I think he should have been in a main event match for the title, his third match? No, but I get it. Marketing, big name, I get that. But, it was what I kind of expected from Logan.
Coby Galenzoski.
Quickly unmute myself. That's the thing. There's not a lot of dissonance that's going to happen. We went into this expecting this type of match. I wasn't expecting a squash. Otherwise, they would have kind of built up another main event. Like if it was that big of a match, they could have built Bianca Bailey as the main event. They could have built Brock and Lashley as the main event. At the end of the day, that was the main event, and that we know Roman's not going to have a squash unless he has to. And I do agree. Logan Paul has, and I wrote this down just before the show, nobody has shown the progress of Logan Paul in 3 matches ever. And I want to say it that way because it is true. Logan Paul understands what he's doing in the ring. He's there to, 1, entertain, and he is there to 2, tell a story. He agrees. He understands that, yes, he might not be the ultimate face for everyone, but he understands that at the end of the day, he's still there to be an entertainer. And I do respect him for that.
Clark Taylor.
I thought I was impressed with what he did, but it made me sick to my stomach when he tuned up the band, thought he was Shawn Michaels, and I'm not a big Logan Paul fan. I don't really know. I just am personally not very entertained by Logan Paul that often, and for me, it was like he went and he did what he was supposed to do, and I will give that for sure.
Coby Galenzoski.
So I am going to kind of do that rebuttal, but they uploaded videos of Logan training with Shawn Michaels. So
I know. That's the part that makes me sick to my stomach.
Why?
Because why does he get that? Why does he get that? Because why does he get that?
His way to get it. From the standpoint of training, he can. If you want to say he can hire whoever he can hire to train, but at the end of the day, that's storytelling. He trained with Shawn Michaels.
He's out there tuning up the band against Roman Reigns, who should just cut his ass in half, and thankfully he did. And the finish they got right, and that would be my opinion. Is I can't fathom a scenario in my lifetime where Logan Paul could land one lucky shot against Roman Reigns, just like whatever his brother Jake and all his BS. I just want somebody that can actually box in a weight class to shut one of the 2 Pauls up first, and then the next one would be awesome too. Like if we could shut them both up, I would be delighted. That would be.
Oh, okay. Some spicy takes here. Oh, God. Logan Paul, the person, I don't care for. Narcissistic, passive instances, do not care for the man at all. Logan Paul, the WWE superstar. My God, is he an athletic individual? I mean, that buckshot lariat on Roman, that impressed me a lot. Even the frog splash off the turnbuckle to the table was impressive as well. He is showing promise. I think he will be a great, exceptional addition to the roster, not only for his global influence on his audience, but as well, he will be a good man to rely on to have a good match. Is he a good person in my books? No. From past instances, I don't care for the man. But as an athlete, he is a true talent for the WWE.
Anthony Ricciardi.
I mean, I agree with what these guys have been saying about, Logan Paul, the person. Athletically, the one spot was when he dived off the top rope and Roman caught him. I thought that was visually was a hell of a spot. The finish, Roman cutting him in half with the spear, was the right move. I mean, it was the right move to have Roman spear him cleanly in the ring.
Now that we've spoken about Logan Paul, what about Roman Reigns? Where does he go coming out of this match now? Right, he's held the title for over 2 years. It seems like he might be facing The Rock at WrestleMania, but where does he go from here? Coby Galenzoski.
Put me on the spotlight. There we go.
Mhm.
Where does Roman go? And I think Roman goes wherever he needs to go. Like, I would have eventually, like I said during our watch along, I said, if Lashley goes over Brock, that's what's next. But at the end of the day, the numbers are as slim as he can go. Like, he's not going to go in a feud with I mean, he could go in a feud with Shinsuke Nakamura at the end of the day. Like, I don't know what's next because the numbers are already low. We can assume that because of Elimination Chamber being in Montreal, I assume that's where we're going to get Roman Sammy if we get Roman Sammy. And I'd love to see Sammy go out of that as champ, but that is what it is.
Anthony Ricciardi.
I think ultimately Roman's going to drop that title to either Cody, waiting for his return, or based on just the crowd reaction, possibly Sami Zayn, which I'll be perfectly honest, I'd be okay with either guy dethroning him. Because when you have a long reign like Roman has, whoever beats you, it needs to make sense. It needs to make the person. It shouldn't be done just for a pop. It should make somebody. And, Cody has the history that wants to be the world champion because Dusty never held the WWF world title. So he wants that. Sammy has been doing the best work of his entire career. So does he deserve it? I would definitely give Sami Zayn a world title shot. The world title reign, rather. So I think that's where it's going. And I think Roman's going to probably take a break after it. I don't think the match with The Rock needs the title to be involved because I think it creates more problems. If Roman beats The Rock, you're going, okay, well, who's going to beat him then? So I don't know. To me, I think the logical choices would either be Cody or Sammy at this point.
Soul.
Apologies to the viewers. I put the glasses on because the room is spinning right now and I got to focus. I got to rebuttal. I got to bring the information to the viewers. I don't think Sammy should be the one to challenge in Montreal. It should be Kevin Owens. We get Kevin Owens and Rowan. They're doing a match, right? Maybe right after Elimination Chamber, but keep it in Montreal for the crowd reaction because this is important. Roman's beating on Kevin, and Kevin is a face now, shouts to Sammy, Sammy, we were friends, we were brothers in alliance, help me here. And Sammy's torn. But he shows a slight hesitation towards Kevin, and that's when Roman's like, no, we've got to snuff that out right now. Boom, hits Sammy. Sammy's down, and he leaves Montreal, and then Sammy and Kevin embrace, have a nice thing. Sammy, goes with Kevin, and then at WrestleMania we get the Usos versus Sammy and Kevin Owens for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, which Sammy and Kevin Owens win. That should be the way it goes. I do not believe the New Day should win on this upcoming Friday's episode of SmackDown. The New Day are bland, in my opinion. They've been done to death. It's been Usos, New Day all the time. How many times have we seen this thing before? It's like back and forth. It's like Romeo and Juliet. There's going to be in every adaptation every single year. It's done to death. Let it go. Let's do new things.
Clark Taylor.
I am so happy it got to me because at first I was going to say, I think it's going to be The Rock. I think it's going to be Sami Zayn. But you guys took all those good ones. I have another idea. It's going to be Jey Uso that takes the title, and they're going to make Jey Uso out of this. The right-hand man, not any longer. How about just the man? And then you have Jimmy. You have all of that on the docket, and you can still get Roman Rock out of it. You can still get Sammy's involvement in all of it. You can still do Cody later. You can split the belts. You have all these choices. I like Jey Uso as my guy to do it. And then from there, maybe a Sammy rivalry. That would be my call.
Anthony Ricciardi.
Yeah, it's funny, Clark, that you did mention Jey because after I finished, I thought about Jey. And I think long-term storytelling-wise, that may work as well because you can bring up the fact that when Roman first came back, they feuded. So long-term wise, yeah, I think Jay is definitely a possibility to be a believable person to end the streak. And you can obviously bring in the Sammy stuff. There's a number of things you can do with any of the three people that we've mentioned, Cody, Sammy, or Jay,
No doubt.
to make it believable and it to mean something, which when you have a long reign like this, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed
got to
to
be so meaningful when they take it. I agree with you. Yeah.
It's supposed to make somebody. You don't end an 800 plus day reign as champion, or possibly 1,000 if Roman goes that long. Just to pop the crowd for a one-off. It needs to mean something, and you need to have a direction for whoever beats them. It can't just be that moment and that moment alone. You got to have a plan on how that guy's going to progress with the title.
So, apologies, I will mention before, I believe Cody Rhodes should take the title off Roman. Lead to a great babyface run, good storyline. I think it will be great, lead to the eventual downfall of the bloodline. But if Jey Uso gets the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, I believe it will lead to the worst possible championship run in company history. Why? He's not a guy, he's a tag team guy. He's not going to break away and be the marquee guy on posters that's going to draw in tickets and viewers and TV viewers. No, it's going to be dull. It will be boring. It will be Jey Uso doing stuff maybe against Randy Orton and other baby faces. But I mean, I don't think so. I think it's a bad idea. Do not put the championship on Jey Uso. No, just don't.
Does anybody have a response to that?
I could respond to it, but I mean, look, I hear you, but I also think at the same time, me and Soul are a little bit, we're kindred spirits on this. I don't necessarily think that Jay would be my first pick, and that I just made that suggestion, but I will say this. I do think if you build Jey Uso and Roman right, that could be an electric storyline. And I don't know if Soul has thought about that.
So, to wrap things up for today, the final thing we're going to talk about is the two giants clashing, right? Now, going into this match, I really thought, it wasn't really going to deliver. It, could well be quite sloppy. And I mean, no offense to either of them, but that was what, a lot of people were saying on social media. So, what were your thoughts on this match after it all went down, Anthony Ricciardi?
I mean, this is a match that on paper, you're like, oh, okay. On paper, it's interesting, but usually big guys against one another, not exactly a great history of great matches. I mean, Undertaker and Kane is probably the only one that really comes to mind to me that would live up to the hype. So the bar for me was really low for this match. I just didn't think they'd be able to pull it off. But for me, they both impressed me. I liked the way that, there was a change for Braun. He's used to being the big monster in the ring, and he's smaller than Omos. So I really thought the match surprised me. I thought they both did a really nice job with this match, which I was not expecting. So I really think that was one of those matches that was a surprise to me for any match on the card. That was the one that surprised me the most.
I mean, there's nothing already that hasn't already been said before. Exactly. Like, everyone thought that was going to be the pee break or the potty break, the toilet break, however you want to view that. But I think it did deliver to an extent. We saw Braun Strowman actually sell. And I mean, I think he is a lot better than Omos. And Omos is coming into this as the inexperienced bigger guy, and this was almost like this proved to everyone who thought what they thought before about, well, Braun's past his prime. Like, we have Commander Aziz and we have Omos, who are bigger and more imposing, but Braun actually knows. I'm not gonna praise a tremendous amount of him, but Braun knows what he's doing in the ring. And I just don't know where is next. I don't know if, to me, I'd almost say, are we going to set up Braun and Gunther? Is that a direction we go? I don't know. But the thing that interests me is that if SmackDown is having this World Cup, who would represent America? Could that be Braun? If it's supposed to be for a mid-card title shot, so could that be where Braun wins? I don't know. I don't know where the direction is. That's just me spitballing ideas.
Clark Taylor.
Okay, so I was massively impressed by Braun selling in the match. I was impressed by it almost, actually, relatively speaking. Here's the only thing I would say. With the expectations being low, it was a bit of a shame to me how much offense went one way and then Braun wins with one move. Like, so he's supposed to be this monster almost at 7'3", 400 pounds, and one power slam was enough to put him away. That would be the thing that really bugged me about it. That would be my biggest complaint.
Soul.
I mean, I was fairly impressed. I guess there's a positive match rating from the low expectations I think me and everybody else here had. For what next for Omos and Braun? Omos, I got no goddamn clue what you can do next with the guy. He's improving, but does he need more time in NXT to develop himself? I mean, who knows? But for Braun, I do agree with Coby. I think that'd be a great idea in that World Cup. Give him something to do, and then he could go on to a mid-card title. I don't think he's ready for the main title picture as of yet, but put him in the mid-card title. You would do two things. You would give it to Gunther. That would elevate Gunther as a true guy who can work with any guy of any size, any build, and truly come out as a top-level heel. Go with Seth Rollins as well. Just maybe help Seth, because he's had a losing streak until Riddle at Clash at the Castle, and then obviously Lashley winning the US title. I think if you give him with Seth, Braun could just help cement Seth that he's had this bad streak of luck, but now he's on a streak of positive changes for winning streaks.
Before I end things, the one final thing I do want to quickly bring up again is that, of course, today we saw the OC take on the Judgment Day, and once again, Rhea Ripley was a deciding factor in the match. However, there's talk about who are the OC going to bring in to stop Rhea Ripley. So I just wanted to quickly take it to you guys and see if you had any predictions of who the OC could be bringing in. Coby Galenzoski.
So the thing I know is the week before they did those Mexico live events, and I guess the given partner for those matches was Raquel Gonzalez. Now, I don't know if I'd go with Raquel Gonzalez as someone they could bring, but then again, I also don't know ultimately who could be the threat they could use. I'd say if they weren't using her, or if they weren't kind of pairing her with Ronda Rousey, I would say Shayna Baszler could almost fit with the OC. But
Anthony Ricciardi.
I mean, I think they could probably put Beth Phoenix with them if she'd be interested in doing it, since there is history between them. I don't think they would bring in somebody like Charlotte Flair. I mean, she is friends with AJ. You might be able to do something with that, but that wouldn't be my pick. I mean, you have Doudrop if you wanted to repackage her as, whether Piper Nevins or a different name. There's a couple people you could put. I don't know if Raquel really works with that. For me, I'd probably put Beth. I think Beth could work with that. If you wanted to bring Edge back into it and do 4-on-4 if you wanted to go that direction, adding another person to both teams to make it work, I think that's your option. I think Beth would make the most sense.
So,
I mean, touch upon one thing as well. Imagine you're AJ Styles, you're having a feud with these guys, they're kicking your arse, and then you bring in the OC and you're like, we're gonna actually beat these guys, and you get beat a couple of times and you get nutshot. You'd be like having buyer remorse there. You're like, is my 30-day guarantee still available? Can I ship them back? Can I get my money back, please? But I mean, who knows? I mean, for women on that side, I mean, Raquel Gonzalez is like the obvious choice. Great build, match with Rhea Ripley's size, and would be great for that kind of fit. Who really on the women's side of the roster would be like, prepare against Rhea Ripley, who's amazing, by the way. And you would think, yeah, valid contender could take her on in like a 30-minute Iron Woman match. I don't know. Seems like Raquel Gonzalez, but I mean, other names you could throw out there. I think Shotzi would be kind of cool to see. Shotzi, who else? Maybe bring someone up from NXT and help them debut. Maybe Nikita Lyons.
And to finish things off, Clark Taylor.
Way to freaking bury the lead. So there's only one name. You got to match the physicality. And it's Nikita Lyons. You put Nikita Lyons in a stare down against Rhea Ripley. You aren't necessarily sure Rhea's going to bury Nikita Lyons. She's not. She can match her physically. And not only that, she's an ass kicker. You see the social media stuff. We all know that. She's a kickboxer. She knows what she's doing when it comes to that. She's physical. She's strong. And she's fast too. And the intensity level is something that I think she can match with Rhea. Almost back to Anthony's point about Beth Phoenix. I think a prime Beth Phoenix is the answer to your question. And I'm not going to go way out of my way to do this, but I think Nikita Lyons is our next. Not Beth Phoenix necessarily, right on top of each other as far as comparisons are speaking, but she has those kind of vibes. She is that strong. She's that fast. She's that good. And for the poster alone, Nikita Lyons, Rhea Ripley is the one to me.
Right, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today. I think we've had a great show. And if you guys who are watching this enjoyed it, then please leave a like on the video and comment below. And who knows, maybe we will do more. But also, if you wanted to see more from Clark and Coby, they're on the Republic Ramble, which comes every few weeks, with Soul, who has a new interview almost every week, and Anthony and Clark are soon creating their own podcast called Sold separately, in which they're going to be reviewing and talking about wrestling figures. If you guys want to see more Wrestling Republic's thoughts on Crown Jewel, then please go to WrestlingRepublic.com, where we will have a full review in just a few hours' time. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep it real.